All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Ivan was an old bear tracker. Tom was a man with dreams. And Ernie came along and I wrote the songs about a creature that few's ever seen. Monsters, myths, and mystery.
And welcome back to the X Zone. This is hour 2 of tonight's show, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada on, are you ready for this, X Zone Nation? Classic 1220, and streamed around the world on classic1220.ca. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone at xzoneradio, xzone at classic1220.ca, as well as xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour, X Zone Nation, is Susan Allen, and we're going to be talking to Susan tonight, who is a medium. If I was to do that job, I would be an extra large, 6'5", couple of 100 pounds, and away you go. We're also going to be talking to Susan, who's an evidential psychic, animal communicator, and healer. Joining me now from California is Susan Allen. And Susan, welcome to the X Zone.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Well, we're happy that you were able to join us tonight, despite everything that you and I are facing. You've got a lot of rain in California. And here in St. Catharines, it's either we're freezing or sweating all in the same day. So there you go. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to being an evidential psychic medium, animal communicator, and healer.
Oh, beautiful. Well, it wasn't something I looked for. I was always interested in the mystics and the psychics and mediums. I was always really interested in it. And I didn't think I had that ability. So I was always just going to these people and loving it. I was one of those seekers, always read spiritual books. And then this one time I thought, I think I want to take this animal communication class because I had this amazing little dog. I hadn't had a dog in 20 years.
Right.
I had cats, but I didn't have another dog. And, I got this little amazing dog and I just adored her. And I thought, oh, what a silly, fun little class. And that's how I discovered it. I started to give evidence to the teacher that was putting up pictures for 10 people. We were all sitting with our iPads and I was giving evidence and telling a story. And when I read the story to her, I was kind of like, wow, I'm not really a writer. This is amazing.
Right.
And then the people in the class, including a veterinarian, were calling me for readings. And I was just loving it. And I remember thinking, how do I do more of this? Mm-hmm. And it was just through this one class. That's kind of how I discovered it. But, if you go back in my life, there were times in my life that were so, you wouldn't have believed it. Mm-hmm. And even as a child, my brother said that he'd come in to get me out of my crib and I'd be laughing and talking and he'd say, Susie, who are you talking to? And I'd say, the beautiful lady. And this one time he said he ran out of the room. I freaked him out so much. And I had the kind of mother that would say, I'm watching you. What the heck does that mean? She's watching me. Because I was freaking everybody out. And then later in life, I was about 25 and my mother had passed away from cancer. And
I'm sorry.
Thank you. And then within 6 months of her death, I was ill and I had taken, my 2 Tylenol and I started to go to sleep. Mm-hmm. And she was screaming in the room like she was there, get to the emergency room. And it was I didn't even think twice about it because I guess this had been happening my whole life. So I went to the emergency room and they gave me my last rites and I was in fact dying and they saved my life. My mom saved my life from beyond the grave.
How old were you when when you were telling us about the story about your brother who came into your room and you were just kind of laughing and when he said to you, who you talking to, you said the lady, he ran out. How old were you?
I was 2 and I don't have a memory of it. And
Wow.
ironically, when I really started to do this full time and get into
Mm-hmm.
this business, he started to have this memory and he goes, "Oh my God, I have to tell you, when you were little, I remember coming in and you'd be laughing and you were so like excited and talking away."
Right.
I was kind of was a chatterbox as a little kid. And he told me that story and he said, honestly, it really freaked me out and I flew out of the room. That's exactly what he said.
You know what? Speaking to the people that I've had the opportunity of speaking to, like yourself, over the past 34 years doing this show,
Hmm.
I believe that children are like an open book, that they are able to see and hear things that as we grow up throughout society kind of says, nah, you're imagining it. And I would love to see parents encourage these invisible friends and these invisible angel, encounters that kids have, because I really think that we're doing a disservice trying to bring them into a world where reality really isn't real.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there are some parents that get it. I have parents that have readings with their children with
Hmm.
me. It's children and animals. Like they'll see something when they're around me because
Right.
they laugh and they
Hmm.
giggle, or animals act very strange around me. Like when I was in Scotland recently, I was telling you that this cow came over to me. They call them coos. They're these beautiful long-haired uh, cows, and they have red hair and they have these horns. They're just adorable. They look like big hairy dogs. And he walked over to me and he was mooing and mooing and mooing, and he started licking his shoulder, and I started to just give him some healing in his
Right.
shoulder, and then he starts licking my arm. This big giant cow tongue is now licking my arm, and he was just thanking me and then walked away and went back to lay down. So animals and children are so open. It's like almost the same frequency.
Yeah.
Like I could feel into a child the same way I could feel into an animal. It's really amazing.
What was it like for you the first time that you were able to actually make a connection with those on the other side as a medium?
Huh. Well, I was doing animal communication, and I was kind of always a very nervous person, but I think there was a gift beneath that anxiety, because when I was able to really meditate and calm,
Hmm.
I stopped having anxiety attacks. I had them since I was 5. And I think it was just because of all the massive amount of energy that was coming in that I couldn't figure out, because I didn't have the kind of parents that would really condone this. I grew up Catholic Italian in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh boy.
And you didn't believe in this stuff. I
No.
mean, nuns and priests were at my house on Sunday for dinner. And so I think it was when I was working with the animal kingdom and I was channeling an animal over the phone. It was actually a celebrity's girlfriend. And I had never been on the phone with him before. And it was prior to Skype. We were just doing phone sessions. And I just was like in that channeling moment. And I looked across the room and the photo of me and my dad started to kind of just very gently change into someone else. And I knew, I just had this knowing, this clear knowing it was her father that was in the spirit world. And he started to tell me things that she was validating. So that's kind of how it happened. And I just said to myself, gee whiz, if dead people want to come through like this is like a gentle ballet that I'm watching. I could handle this. As long as you're not going to be walking through my house and freaking me out, I can do this. So that's kind of how it started to unfold. And then when that faucet is open, it's kind of hard to shut that faucet off, because you want to be able to give as many messages to a person that comes
Hmm.
to you for a reading as you possibly can.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Have you found a difference in the type of questions that you're getting now, or the people who are coming to you for one-on-one consultations? Is everything the same as it was prior to COVID, or are there differences that you've detected after COVID?
Well, I've talked to a lot of dead people, including a doctor that told me why they were in heaven and, results of vaccines or over vaccinations and, why they actually died within a week of getting a vaccine. And I guess I get that. I personally don't like questions because spirit doesn't lie. And I just like to channel spirit first and
Right.
foremost. And I always leave like 5 minutes at the end. Hey, do you have any questions? And I kid you not, like, that's why I trust what I do is most people will say, well, you answered the questions I had. So it's like, I'd rather not be led with a question. I'd rather just be able to give the information. And that's kind of like the purest way you can do this, because people will say, yes, that makes sense, or spirit knows what people need.
Well, that does make sense because what you're doing is you're validating yourself and the evidence that you're giving even before they ask any questions.
Yeah, it's never about me. I mean, I said to my husband tonight, I was like, do you realize that every career I had, I always had like a nervous stomach and a pit in my stomach, and I was so fearful. And I go, this is like the only thing that I've ever done that I'm not nervous about. I could talk about it till like the cows come home. And it doesn't scare me or freak me out. Like, I think I was born to do this work. I came in like this, and I just was so different and so incredibly sensitive as a little kid that I never really felt like I fit in. I always wanted to be friends with the misfits. Like, those were the kids I wanted to be friends with, the kids with Asperger's. There was like a knowing that they were different, and we all understood each other, in grammar school, in the schoolyard. I never was friends with like the sophisticated little kids because I always felt like I was different. I always felt different. And, come later in life, like, I honor my difference now. I honor who I am now.
Yeah.
And I'm not nervous anymore. So that's the gift that this abilities gave me. It gave me a clear sense of knowing, a clear sense of who I am in the world and what I'm supposed to do and how I'm supposed to serve.
Susan, please stand by. You and I have to take our first break. In Explanation, Susan Allen is our very special guest this hour. If you'd like to contact Susan for a one-on-one consultation, her website address is, are you ready for this? Do you have your pencils and paper? You do? Okay, here you go. www.susanallenmedium.com. That's www.susanallenmedium.com. And Susan and I will be back on the other side of this break as the X Zone continues right here from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streamed around the world on classic1220.ca.
Ivan was an old bear tracker. Tom was a man with dreams. And Ernie came along and I wrote the songs about a creature that few's ever seen. Monsters, myths, and mysteries, legend, tales, and facts. It brought us all together, and it's a reason.
Up until now, I've learned to live without love. Like a ship without a sail, wandering aimlessly lost.
And welcome back to the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streamed around the world on classic1220.ca. Send me an email anytime. I always reply to my emails, xzone@classic1220.ca. Susan Allen is my special guest. www.susanallenmedium.com is her website. And Susan, what has been the one reading that you will never forget because of its intensity or because of the meaning that came across? How would you explain that?
It never means a lot to me. I mean, there were so many readings. They're just like snippets of different readings that I've had that I can remember. Because when I'm channeling, Rob, I don't really remember my readings. I'll get these emails afterwards or reviews, and I'm like, I said that, like, but I remember, I remember because a woman called me. I didn't ask her how she found me, and I think her grandfather, if I remember correctly, she ended up becoming a friend, and we went to Paris and Lourdes together for my birthday last year. It was pretty phenomenal. Um, her grandfather came in and said, you know, I said, why is your grandfather coming in with a parrot on his shoulder?
A
Why would
parrot.
you understand this, parrot?
Ah.
And yeah. And she said, oh my God, she said I was very, very sick as a young woman, and I had two small kids, and I didn't think I was going to live. She had cancer really bad. And she said, I laid in bed and I was praying to my grandfather, who I was really, really close to. And she said, this huge parrot came and flew onto my balcony. And she said, I knew that parrot was the sign that I was going to make it. So that, like, just telling you that gives me the chills running down my body, because the messages are so subtle and beautiful that only the person that I would give this message to would really understand,
Right.
that message. And that's just like one of many. I had talking to a woman, I think it was a few Christmases ago. It was really, really a cute reading. And I was talking to her mother in the spirit world, and I said, your mother is laughing and handing me a fruit cake, And I knew what they were because my mom and grandmother loved them and would mail order these fruit cakes at the holidays. And, I never was a big fan of those fruit cakes. And the girl starts laughing. I can't see the girl because it's on a phone call. It's not on
Right.
Zoom. And she's cracking. There's dead silence. And then she starts laughing. And she's like, I am so sorry. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. But, when I'm channeling, a big cackling loud pulls me a little bit out of it. And I said, no, it's fine. I said, and she goes, I have to tell you this. 2 weeks ago, we were in my mom's basement and we opened up the freezer, and there was one of her prize-winning fruit cakes, and it had to be in there 30 years. She goes, we defrosted it and cut it and ate it, and it was still good. And that was a real story. And that's why they were laughing, and the mother was there telling me about the fruitcakes. And it's just one of those, like, you had to be there, and nobody could understand it except the person that I was actually reading for.
Susan, in the information that you were kind enough to send us, one of the paragraphs is, and this is a quote, mediumship healed me. It wasn't until I started meditating and trusting my intuition that I fully embraced my unique gifts to help others heal too. Looks like we lost Susan again. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And Susan Allen is our special guest, and apparently we're having some Skype issues from Susan in California. Susan, are you back with us?
Oh, boy.
Susan, are you there? Hello, Susan. Yep, Susan, we just had you, and we lost you again. All right, Susan, are you with us? Oh, Craig,
Hello?
Yes, Susan, are you there? Susan, are you there? We are here. We're going to disconnect with Susan, and we're going to try and contact her again. Craig, can you get on that for me, please? All right. And where do we find... that has to be Susan. Hello, this is Pizza.
Oh, God, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay?
No. It's me. I was only kidding about Pizza. Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, because my ear pods just died, and I have no idea why. So as long as you can hear me, that's great. They're fully charged.
Oh, my gosh. It's a sign from the other side.
I think it might be. I mean, electronics do get messed up when I'm channeling, not usually when I'm on a radio show. I mean, just like the light bulb will pop and
Mm.
my computer will act funky. It's interesting.
You know, that's funny you should say that about a light bulb popping. Today, for the first time, my wife changed a light bulb in one of the, I don't know what it is, a little thing we have on the side of our bed with these salt rocks, the pink ones.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and she put the new light in and went poof.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
so,
cool.
yeah,
I have tons of those in my house. I love those salt lamps.
yeah. And so anyway, I just find it funny that, you were talking about the light bulb that usually goes off when you're on a show. But listen, let me ask you this question again.
Sure.
One of the quotes that you said is, and this is your quote: "Mediumship healed me. It wasn't until I started meditating and trusting my intuition that I fully embraced my unique gifts to help others heal too." Tell us about that.
Absolutely. Well, it's ironic that nobody asked me about it, and my husband didn't really criticize me about it. Like, nobody said anything, but 3 times a year I would go see the same medium 3
Mm-hmm.
times a year. And I have no idea why I was so moved that I would just feel different. Like, for the 3 days after the reading, I just felt like I was in a different state of mind
Mm-hmm.
and another realm. And I was always very, very attracted to the mystical, the spiritual, it's just like I really, really believed in it so much. And I really felt like connected to the other side when I would go to this medium. And I saw him for 10 years until I didn't really need a medium anymore, because I was so clairaudient and clairvoyant that I could hear a no, or I could hear yes, and I could hear it go to the left, go to the right, when situations, or it was a clear knowing after a while. And I started to meditate, not to be a medium. Honestly, I started to meditate because I had to meditate, because my life wasn't exactly the way that I wanted it. I was always anxious. I was kind of unhappy. I was selling real estate. I hated selling real estate. I was good at it, but I didn't love it. I'd walk in a house, I could feel all kinds of energy. Usually the animals would go crazy, and people would say to me, "Oh, my dog doesn't act like that." Because it's like I had that thing with animals
Right.
since I'm a little kid. And I could talk to an animal and know what was going on in the house. That was an interesting thing. Like, animals really would tell me so much. And it wasn't really until I started meditating just to be happier. And about 18 months in is when I was really able to get my own true messages from the spirit world, and, with accuracy. Or I was in a meditation once, and a woman, her son came to me, and I kind of barely knew this woman. She was working with another medium that I knew, and I was friends with the sister of the other medium, and she was like one of the assistants of the medium. And the son came to me and he said, "I am so and so, and please tell my mom I went back to school." So I called the girl that works for the medium, and I said, "I don't know her, but please don't say anything to her, because I know she lost her son, but do you know if this makes sense?" Like, her son said, "Tell my mom I went back to school." And the mother called me hysterical, and I was like, "Oh my God, I didn't want that message to go to this woman, because who knows if I was right?
Yeah.
This was just a meditation." And she said, when he got sick, he said, "I'm moving home so I could go back to school."
Wow.
And he didn't get to go back to school. So that was him coming through for his mom to let her know that he did go back to school in the spirit world. And that was kind of cool.
When you're
But
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, you go. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, when you communicate with the other side, do you get a vision of the person you're talking to, or do you just get the information given to you vocally into your mind, into your heart?
I get the feelings and the look and feel of the person, so the feelings are everything for a medium. Like, I get really the feelings and how they felt in life and their personality, and kind of like, some of my clients will say, my God, you sound just like her. And that's exactly how she would have sounded. Like, I just come out with a curse and I'll just say a line that the person said, and they'll say that's exactly how she spoke and that's exactly what she would say. And I'm just like, what? Like, it never gets old. I mean, that's for sure. There are some mediums that could take a validation with like a straight face, and I still get excited. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I think I've always been a person, I've had 92 careers and I always got bored at every single one of them. This is the only career that I'm completely still loving and not bored with, because it's always like a different reading and a different day. And it's exciting when you could bring those messages to people. I just, I'm flabbergasted. I love it.
Well, we've got to take our break at the bottom of the hour, so please stand by, Susan. And
Okay.
thanks very much for joining us tonight. It's a great pleasure having you here with us. And Susan
Oh,
and I will
thank
be
you.
back on the other side of this break, Exo Nation, as we continue right here, live and around the world from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streamed around the world on classic1220.ca. Now, if you'd like to make a private consultation with Susan, it's very simple. Just go to our website, www.susanallenmedium.com.
Up until now,
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. Susan Allen is my very special guest, www.susanallenmedium.com. Another quote that we found that you said, my whole life I've always felt empathically what others were feeling. Now I believe it's always been spirit too. How do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel when you're healing somebody? Not everybody can do it.
Yeah. Well, what happens, it started with the animals, and I know it sounds really bizarre, and I don't really care what people think of me, but this is really how it happened. I couldn't ride horses anymore, but I had a lovely old trainer. She's actually younger than me, and I don't mean old in age, but she'd say, why don't you just come up to the ranch and love on Leo? And I'd go up there once a week in my former career as a realtor to de-stress, and I'd spent like an hour and a half with this horse, and I'd be rubbing him and scratching him and loving on him. And he started to download. Like, when I say download, he was communicating with me telepathically on how to heal his back legs, where he had pain. And I just had this knowing of how to heal through this horse. And I would put my hands on his back legs. He was a show horse, a dressage horse, and his back legs were overworked, and he was really ready to retire. And he was telling me that too. And he finally did get to retire. They finally didn't believe me, but the vets told the trainers and the owner, if you don't retire him, he won't get to retire. So he spent another 2 years in retirement, and I'd still visit him every week in retirement. But he really taught me how to heal. It wasn't Reiki. It wasn't any that stuff. It was a natural ability that I was birthed into. But I didn't know I had that ability until he taught me. So I would just replicate that in my home when I was, later I was finally doing animal readings. I would just take the animal mentally. I'm very, very visuals. So people would send me a picture,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd put the animal on my lap in like a 3D, and I would just close my eyes and hold my hands up, and I could feel the heat, the energy leave my hands, just like that horse taught me. So that's how I do my healing. It's, it's just in a state of meditation and prayer, and then I work on an animal that way, and it's similar to finding out where there's a problem, where there's an energetic problem. With people, when I do my opening prayer, it's like an under 2 minute chakra, healing spiritual meditation. I'm instantly in their field, and sometimes it happens early in the morning, like before a reading. I'll be making my coffee and I'll have all of these feelings, and sometimes it is not fun. And I swear to God, it always takes me by surprise. I think, what the hell happened? Like, did I have a dream last night that I don't remember? And then the minute I sit down on Zoom and the person is there, it leaves me. And I go, oh my God, this was what this person was carrying. It had nothing to do with me. And that's my empathic stuff. That's why it's hard for me to, I was the girl that always had parties and always loved everybody coming over. And I don't kind of do that anymore. I spend a lot of time just quiet.
Now, when you're out shopping with your husband, are you approached by those on the other side? Do they leave you alone?
No, it's not like
No,
that for me. I'm not like the Long Island medium that walks in a shop and it's not like that. I turn it on and turn it off. However, I pick up stuff out there that I wish sometimes I didn't pick up, because I'll come home and I'll feel off, or I'll have to go hug my tree in my front lawn. That saves my life every day. Mm-hmm. After a reading, I go hug my tree. I have to be like engaged. I've learned how to turn it off and say, I'm not working right now. I don't want to be bothered. I'm not going to just randomly walk up to people and be like an open channel, because that's when it's not a good idea. Let's put it that way. I had to kind of learn the hard way to shut it down, because your nervous system is constantly on overdrive, and you kind of want to share that and save it when the time is appropriate, not for like being out in a supermarket. You don't want that.
Has anyone ever tried to communicate with your husband? Let's say you.
That's funny.
Okay.
He's so psychic. It's crazy that you're saying that. He didn't know, like, we knew he was psychic because he's just very, very psychic. I remember I was laying down next to him once and I was like playing, and it was really before I even knew I was psychic, or I knew I was, and I go, what am I thinking about? And he goes, you're thinking about Hawaii. And it's exactly what I was thinking about, the dolphins.
Oh, yeah.
In and out of the drift, like when you're on a catamaran, how they'll play and come after the boat. And it was exactly what I was thinking about. I'm like, you're so psychic, And when we were having my dog, our very, very special first dog, the one that I took the animal communication class, that I say she just reminded me who I am in the world, like, because she really brought my gifts back to me that I was born with, that I kept burying amidst, survival mode, which I felt like I was in most of my adult life, survival mode, And when I started to meditate and work with the spirit world and heal my life through prayer, meditation, and mediumship, working with another medium, my whole life changed, and I discovered metaphysics, and like, it really, I have an amazing life, that I have to say was gifted to me. Like, for all intent purposes, the childhood I had and growing up the way that I grew up, and there's absolutely no reason why I'm not dead. In an institution or in a prison. Like, not that I did anything illegal, I didn't, but I was so I was so consumed with so much trauma that I was able to heal that through the work that I've done on myself and through the work in the spirit world.
You must hear a lot of sad stories when you communicate with some animals. And I love animals. I was the director of communications for the Hamilton Burlington SPCA for a long time. I know how much love goes into the inspectors or the investigators who investigate cases of animal cruelty.
Mm-hmm.
And I've often wondered, what would these animals tell us? What would they share with us?
Well,
Yeah.
what I've known, what I really feel about animals is, how do I put this into words? When I was first doing animal communication, I don't come in and ask any questions. I don't really want to know. I just want a photo of the pet and who the pet lives with. That's all I really wanted. And my name was going around like this part of Michigan where there were a lot of these labs that were used for hunting dogs that would be retired at 4 or 5 years old, really, really young. They'd be used beyond an inch of their own lives, and then they would end up in the ASPCA, okay? So this woman had called me, and this was in the very, very beginning, and I was so traumatized because the dog was showing me what the man had done to him,
Oh,
and it
geez.
really affected me. And I was so upset with the woman. And she's like, no, Susan, we just adopted this dog. And now I know why she's terrified of my husband. So and then they stopped showing me that because I think they realized I couldn't handle it.
Right.
And when I first started, 18 years ago, I could not, I'd almost pass out at pictures of poaching of elephants, or this one time a dog was on the side of the freeway and I was driving and I was like, I can't.
Yeah. Did we lose Susan again, Greg? Oh, yes, we did. I hear that Susan and Craig are trying to reconnect. So, Exonation, let's just do a little bit of a fill-in here. Our guest this hour is Susan Allen, and she is a psychic, medium, clairvoyant in Los Angeles, California. And if you'd like to find out more about Susan, visit her website.
I wouldn't be of service.
Oh, okay. You're back with us. Great. So we lost you a little bit when you were talking about the hunting dogs.
Oh yeah, the hunting dogs.
Yeah,
so.
And then you were saying that the poaching TV shows that also get you upset. They get me upset as well.
Well, I first of all, I won't watch. And second of all, I know that I won't, my vibration will not stay high if I look at that. And what I've learned, what the animals taught me is they don't want pity. They don't want us to feel sorry for them. They want us to see them thriving. And that's how I used to do my prayers for the elephants. Then I would just see them herding and eating and having babies and getting to water and walking across Africa. That's how they want us to envision them. Just like in metaphysics, like you have to put your mind to where you want to be rather than where you are. They don't want us to feel sorry for them. And feel upset over the way that they died, and those kind of things. They don't want us. And sometimes people call me for an animal reading and I just really want to channel, but sometimes people need to tell me and get it off their chest, and I wish they wouldn't, because then I end up with it, but I could dissipate it better, and they need the healing. But I've heard some really upsetting stories. A woman had called me and she ran into the supermarket and left her dog in a running Prius, and somebody jumped in her car and stole the car. And the dog didn't end up the dog ended up being killed. And it was so horrific for this woman. And she had so much trauma about it because it was like her soul dog, her favorite dog in the whole world.
Susan,
And
we're going to
she,
have to take our final break here, so please stand by. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but these are hard breaks. And Susan Allen and I will be back on the other side of the short break as we wrap up this hour tonight here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us on Classic 1220 and streamed around the world on your hometown radio, classic1220.ca. I'm Rob McConnell, and fascinating lady, fascinating talk. Much more to come. Don't go away. And welcome back to the X Zone. Susan Allen is our special guest. www.susanallenmedium.com is her website. And Susan, first of all, thanks very much for joining us tonight. A great pleasure talking to you and learning all about your story, your quest, your mission. And it certainly has been one, it's... As you continue your mission, do your powers, or not powers, your gifts, do they get stronger?
I think so, yeah.
Now, why are you chuckling when I said powers?
Like it's not like bewitched, although my husband says I'm like bewitched, because what's odd is sometimes when I'm on Zoom, I get a very itchy nose when I'm channeling, and I start rubbing my nose like bewitched. It's pretty funny.
Is your husband's first name Darren by any chance?
No.
Oh, heavens. I guess one of the questions that I'd like to ask you is about mediumship. Where does reincarnation fit into mediumship?
That's a good question. Well, Spirit really taught me this field. It wasn't like heavily studied. I mean, later on, I went to the Arthur Findlay College in the UK, where all the amazing mediums train. And I've studied with a lot of mediums, weekend classes, week-long classes. But in the very, very beginning of this, I had like a neighbor, and I told her, yeah, I talk to animals. And she said, well, I want you to do a reading on my dog. And the dog said, I was her dad in a past life. And I tell her that, and I'm like, I was questioning it. And she laughed, and she goes, oh, no, we're Buddhists. We believe that a soul will reincarnate and be a dog at least once in a soul's entire life. And as a soul, the soul never dies, you see. So, and then I had a reading with a woman that I had no idea she had lost her son. And the dog, she called me about her dog, and it was young, and it was crossing over, and we couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. We were all veiled. I tried to get her to a vet. It was like a first for me that I just couldn't figure it out. And then I couldn't cash her check. It was the time when, pre-PayPal, people were mailing me checks. I just looked at the check and I said, I just can't cash this woman's check because I just couldn't figure it out. And she said we had to put the dog down, and it had cancer. And I said, okay, I'm going to mail you a check back. She goes, no, could you talk to them in the spirit world? And I go, yeah. I go, but do me a favor, give me 2 weeks, because I was so upset over this dog. That's how I used to get in the beginning. I had to really get rid of these feelings because I couldn't help anybody. So I ended that conversation. I went, yeah, in 2 weeks I'll get back with her. And boom, I'm in meditation. And I start journaling, because that's how I always did my readings when I first started. And what was coming out was I was only here for a short time because I never got to say goodbye. And this was the deal I made. And I'm so sorry I hurt her again. And tell her to go in the backyard and take a picture of the sky. And I'm going to be in that picture. And I told her all this. And this really happened. Okay. And she said, well, what you didn't know is my son passed away at my cousin's house from H1N1 and a combination of cold medication and something else. And he just passed away at 26 years old. And he had just become a district attorney in California. He had just made it through the bar and all that. And she goes, we didn't get to say goodbye. And he was the love of my life. We were inseparable. Her son and her were like best friends. And he came through in the reading, and he came through as her dog. And she said to me, I have had so many German Shepherds. I have 3 right now. I didn't actually meet her at that point. And she said, but this one nearly killed me. When I got this dog in it was starting to get sick and pass away at 6 months old. And she goes, it makes so much sense what you said. And she said, do you have a minute? Can I send you the photo? I took it last night of the sky. She said, you didn't know I take orb photos. Like, she's an orb photographer.
Right.
And I was like, oh, cool. And she sends me this photo, and it looked like she had taken a picture of a white German Shepherd laughing in a circle. It was like, it was so real that I was like, oh, this can't be. And I sent it to a few friends, and I'm like, what do you see? A white German Shepherd in an orb. Like, it was crazy. So this is kind of like, how do you can't make this shit up. Excuse my language. We can't make this up.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what to say to that. I really don't.
I don't know either.
But I believe there's more out there than we will ever understand in our lifetime.
There's so much out there that I don't even understand, that I get to learn a little bit every day, just a little bit more every day when I do these amazing sessions with people.
Let me ask you another question. How long does it take you to connect with the other side?
Just the 2-minute meditation I do in the beginning. Sometimes they're right there, just standing in the waiting room, waiting. And sometimes it takes me like to the point of opening my eyes and say, I'm ready to begin. And then boom, they're right there waiting.
How is it that you on this side are able to connect with that one very special person that the client is asking you to connect with out of all the souls out there? How do you do it?
It doesn't always work that way. I'll just let you know, if somebody really, really has this stronghold, I got to hear from my son. I got to hear from my son. I got to hear from my son. It's probably the worst thing, because you want to be completely open and receptive to what is in store in the spirit world. And what I tell my clients is, when they make an appointment, just think about who you really want to talk to and let them know the time, the date, the place that we're going to have our session, that we're going to be on Zoom at 11 a.m. on February 9th. Would you please come and show me that you're okay and that life begins without you? That your life is still beginning, even though you're not here, or still going. And that's kind of a good thing, like just to be so excited about the reading and to be happy and joyful and not have like this thing, it's like a stronghold of who you want to talk to, because they do come in, but they come in towards the later part of the reading. Like, I did a reading the other day for a young woman, and I said, your dad's here, and he's telling me he wasn't really there for you when you were little, and he wasn't around much, and he's sorry about that, and he was just wanting her to know that he loves her and he's there for her. And somebody was standing there too next to her dad, and I wasn't connected to that person yet. And it was like a very short reading. It was like my 25-minute reading, which I still have, which I'm thinking of not having anymore. But I know people want to be able to talk to their people for a lower rate and a shorter time. So I still offer that. And all of a sudden, she says, it's not really who I wanted to talk to. And I said, well, this is the message you needed to heal. And I said, but there is somebody else here. And then it ended up being her son who was coming in. And I heard, hello, Mom. And I knew it was her son. And that's really who she wanted to talk to. But the whole first 15 minutes of the reading, of the 25-minute reading, her dad needed to try to help heal her from her early childhood when he was, a police officer, was never home, was, after work, he'd be out with the boys and helping everybody on the block except his own family. So, there were small kids at home that he wasn't really, there for.
I can understand where you're coming from with that gentleman who was a police officer, because I was a cop many years ago. And,
oh, wow.
And, that's, you do end up bringing your work home with you, and you're always on duty, and you really don't want to neglect your family. That's the furthest thing from any cop's life, is to not care for their family, because you're there to serve and protect, and my philosophy is you always serve and protect those at home before others, except when you're on the job. How do you protect yourself? Whoops, I think we lost her again. Did we? All right, we're going to try and get her back. Susan Allen is our special guest. She is in Los Angeles, California. And Susan and I were talking before the show, and as they had the wildfires that we all saw in the news up here in Canada, now it's all rain down there, and they're looking at a forecast of 10 inches of rain. So do we have you back, Susan?
Yes, I'm back.
All right. We've got about 2 minutes left, Susan. What are your final thoughts for the X Zone Nation? What would you like to share with them?
Just that there is no death, and it's like spirit walks into the next doorway, but they're always around, especially during pivotal moments in your life. Just feel the signs and try to think about them. And usually when you're thinking about them, they're right there with you. When the thought pops in your head, I really want to call my dad, but your dad is not here anymore.
I believe in my heart of hearts that mediums are a very important gift from the powers to be. You allow us to communicate with the other side, and the other side to communicate with us on this side. And with all the people I've talked to over the many years doing this show, I know that a lot of hearts have been healed because of the work that mediums do. So from those who can't say this to you because they haven't got the opportunity to talk to you and other mediums, thank you, all the mediums, for all the great work that you do and all the hearts that you mend.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let me see, do you give courses?
I do. I haven't taught in a while, but I do. I'm doing a retreat in the Central Coast of California on communicating with the spirit world. I'll probably do a 3-day retreat in April or May this year. So the best thing is for people to join my newsletter at SusanEllenMedium.com. We're still doing a little $25 coupon when you sign up for my newsletter for a private reading with me. But that's a great way to stay in touch and to hear about things that I'm going to be doing moving forward this year.
Susan, we've just run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
I'd love to have you back on in the future, because we still have so much to talk about. Thank you so much. Tell your husband I hope his team won.
Thank you.
And
it's lovely to meet you. Thank you again.
Oh,
and thank your engineer for getting it going tonight, so I didn't have to do this tomorrow night. No offense. It's Saturday night tomorrow, and if it doesn't rain, we're definitely going to go out to dinner.
Well, you guys have a great time tomorrow night, and once again, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
You be well.
Take care,
Bye.
Bye-bye, Susan. Exonation Susan Allen has been our guest. SusanAllenMedium.com. I'll be back tomorrow night as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. And you're listening to us on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming classic1220.ca. So until tomorrow night, take care